always consider myself as an average mathematician or statistician. Uh, I am a passionate marketer, so I always love to bring some trend in my. I mean, it's love to see or love to devise out a certain trend in data which I can use in marketing decision for essentially in my performance marketing aspect. So that thing drive me to get into data. So I do not like the data directly per se, but I love to make some some decision based on the data, and that's where I drive my motivation around it. So yes, it's slightly tricky, but if you really want to excel, you would do it. And last thing I would want to add, 90% of digital marketers, when I say digital marketer, they include all the beginner, experienced, and middle level, everyone included. 90% of them, they do not understand the basic marketing of, I mean, basic functioning of Google Analytics. Even the default setting, they'll not know that what are the exact default
Yes.
setting or what should be the exact default setting. So trust me, if you want to go, set apart or you stand apart, you have to study this analytic thing for sure.
So, rightly said, sir. So, I would like, oh, 1 minute. Rightly said, sir. So, I would like to ask that normally what happens, like whenever we design any marketing strategy, so we do face this issue that whether we should use analytics or whether we should use Google Tag Manager, and then how to club the data, and then how to actually, what should be the strength of the data that or the duration of the data that we should consider before coming to a very concrete conclusion and then again planning further. So I would like to ask you like. This is actually a confusion for me also. I really do not understand whether I should go for analytics or Google Tag Manager. And then how should I plan my event or my marketing so that I know where the traffic is from, or what is the best channel for me?
Right. So, see, whenever we talk about analytics, we means data. And when we means data, now there are two aspects. Let's say I'm starting a fresh, let's say fresh account, fresh client, fresh, fresh marketing strategy or fresh vertical for that matter. So first we have to understand: do I have, what kind of data access I have? Do I have my own data? I've been in this industry. I want to, let's say, start a new product, or I want to start a new services, but I've been a part of similar industry. Then I'll have certain insight of my website, and I'll also would have some insight because I've been working in that particular industry for a couple of years. Now, in a case where I do not have any clue, it's a new client, I have never worked in that industry or similar industry for that matter, then how do I do that? So, I think you guys would have heard about the tools like Alexa
Yeah.
and there's similar web, and then we have a lot of these SEMrush and all those kind of tools. These tools at least give you some understanding about the kind of traffic uh, the competitor website would be drawing. Again, mind by word, these data are not exact. These data are just an indicator. Yes, in some cases they could be 80 to 90%, there, but there are cases which I heard like they have been totally misleading as well. To use your use your judgment when you make any decision based out on those tools. But having said that, they definitely give you a certain breakup around the channel, whether their SEO, I mean, the organic traffic is good, or paid traffic is good, or social traffic is good, right? Or how many, how much traffic they are getting from PPC, what are their top keywords, those
Yeah.
kind of insight you'll always get. Once you do that, you have some understanding of what kind of marketing they'll be doing. First thing. Second thing, it's a very easy way to understand. I mean, what kind of marketing messaging they are doing, which is itself a very interesting part of
Mm.
marketing strategy. You go to their social media channels. You go to their Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, based on what kind of industry you are targeting, and then the kind of content your competitors are, competitors are engaging with your target segment already. If you are into the same segment, you would understand what kind of content you would want to have and what sort of marketing messaging you would want to have. Once that is in place, this is something we call as a secondary data, because whatever we are accessing, it's not generated by us. So we are just accessing the online data to say. Now, if it's a physical, did you lose me? I mean, I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah,
if you
actually, there
can.
was some net issue, so I had to switch on to the different network altogether now. So now we should be all
No
fine.
problem. No problem.
So I missed you
Okay.
were saying something in
Yeah.
between. Yeah.
So I mean, yes. So I mean, just to summarize, so what I meant was, first access the online data. We have tools like the SimilarWeb, SEMrush, Alexa that would give us a fair understanding of what kind of traffic and what level of traffic volume they have. And then you have their social media channel available if we have competitors in that particular industry. Third, if you are launching some products or services, some unique products or services, even if like you'll not have a lot of data, but I'm sure everyone does some sort of marketing research. Your data set could be small, but do some research on your own as well, so that you'll get valuable insights directly coming from customers. So yeah, these are the three interesting things that would help you to understand a lot of nitty-gritties around your target segment. And fourth, which should be, I mean, based on this, fourth would be the customer persona. We have to be very, very detailed when we define our customer persona. There are a lot of tools available. You can. I think there was slight
Yeah,
disturbance.
so actually, I think there's a
Yeah,
work going on
I
in
can
our
hear you now.
area. Awesome. So I would like to raise a
No problem, no problem. I can hear you loud and clear.
awesome. So I would like to bring a question in front of you. Like,
Yeah.
there is a person who has just started a flower business, and she wants to know that how can she track that whether the orders that she is getting is through the promotion that she is doing through different social media channels, or is it the traditional marketing that she is doing? So how can she differentiate between the two?
Okay. So there are two to three things when we want to track the performance based on our campaigns. So one is whichever platform you would be using, that platform would also be telling the details about how many transaction or that particular conversion has happened on your that particular platform dashboard. So let's say be it Facebook, be it Google, be it even Quora, any particular, or LinkedIn, or even Twitter for that matter, right? They'll have their own tracking system in place, and you can see. So that's our first-hand data. At times there is a variation. Now, what kind? I mean, we have to understand why this variation happens. So first is uh, every platform will have certain attribution model in place.
Yeah.
So when I say attribution, so for instance, if we talk about Facebook, Facebook user default window was 28 days click, 1 day view. Now they have changed it. They are implementing that change as we speak, but their default window was 28 days, click and 1 day view. So what does it mean? It means that if I have clicked on the ad from Facebook, and let's say I'm doing multi-channel targeting, I'm retargeting through Google Ads. I clicked on that ad, retargeting ad. Let's say I'm not bought, in my first interaction with Facebook ad. I bought on my second interaction with Google ad. Then I have purchased that particular product. Now what would happen? My Google ad dashboard would show me one conversion, that particular conversion, and even my Facebook dashboard would also show that particular one conversion, uh, provided that happen in 30 days of or 28 days of attribution window. So what I'm trying to say, first we have to understand what kind of attribution model that particular paid channel is has set up for us. That is one. Second, on which analytical tool we are viewing our data. So, for instance, the interesting part about Google Analytics, which a lot of people would not know, if you are, if you are tracking a data through Google Analytics, of course, the first and interesting standard measure is your UTM parameter, right? Like if you put UTM parameter, you can track which campaign, from which campaign we are getting this traffic, and eventually the transaction part, which is fine. Now, so in Google Analytics, if you're not setting up or changing their default campaign settings, Google Analytics can remember a user till 180 days.
Yeah.
Okay, and our attribution model that we that generally we have, even I think for Google Ad, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 28 days only, right? I mean,
28
20
days.
days.
Yes.
It's a standard time, I guess.
Yes.
So standard time, right? So 28 days for our individual paid platform, but in Google Analytics 180 days. So these are the small things that could make a lot of changes. Plus, we are also have to understand that sometimes what happens, even if my I'm running a campaign. Let's say I have clicked on one ad through my mobile, and let's say I've clicked on my on any ad through Facebook on my personal mobile, and then I I am using someone else's laptop, and I'm checking that I'm checking that particular brand again, and I have bought that particular product from a different device altogether. Okay, from a different device, no connection of mine. In that case, interestingly, this Facebook or Google, they may not be able to track, because my device is changed. The moment device is changed, my cookies are changed. So cookies are device and browser specific. So this is something basic you guys will have to read about the cookies. So if I change the browser, I've changed the device, both of the things, any of these two things, the cookie will change, the Google Analytics or the other platform will not be able to identify me as such. So that will result in a separate tracking issue. So what I'm trying to tell you, there are a lot of challenges in tracking, but you can reduce it to very, very minimal by using UTM tracking parameter whenever you are using any sort of campaigns, be it from any platform. Use UTM tracking parameter. There is already a Google URL builder which is provided by Google. It's
Yes.
very easy. You open it, you just put the whatever type of
Yeah.
identifier you want to put for your campaign, so that you would remember in future. And secondly, there are paid UTM tools also available, which sure a lot of people may not know. There are paid UTM tools available, UTM tracking tools, which you would need only when you are running crazy amount of campaigns to track. Because in that case, you cannot do it manually. You cannot keep putting UTM tracking parameters. You're managing hundreds of campaigns across countries, across different demographics. So yeah, so UTM is one. Second, you also just understand the attribution model, because what happens is in so Google will also, if you are running both Google and Facebook, there would be always a overlap of conversions. So for instance, let's say my Facebook is showing 200 conversion, my Google is showing 150 conversion. Now, 200 plus 150 will be 350 conversion. But my website dashboard is, let's say, showing 280. Then client would always say, "Boss, you have ideally it should be 350, but my website is, backend is showing 280 orders. Where are the other 70s?" And the situation gets worse when the PPC and social media management team are different.
Yeah.
So then they'll fight with each other. These conversions are ours. So in that context, I think you have to educate the agency or the customer, that there would be couple of, not couple of, there would be significant percentage of conversion which would be overlapped. So there is a specific term for these conversion in Google Analytics. We call it as a assisted conversions. So
Okay.
as the name suggests, one channel has assisted another channel to complete the conversion. So assisted conversion report we have in Google Analytics, which would tell you that let's say my 280 conversions are there. So uh, so 200, 350. So there is a difference of 70, right?
Mm.
So let's say 60, 65 conversions of overlap they would show you. So you would understand, okay, these are the 60 conversions where both of the channel has played a role. And based on your understanding, your your setup, you can either take a 50-50% credit of those conversions, 50%, 50%, or if you think that you would know. So when you run a when you run a campaign, you would know whether this particular client or brand is Facebook driven or Google ad driven, right? We always
Yeah.
know that
Yes.
80 to 90% is anyways coming from Facebook or Google ads. So based on that, you can also play around the 10-15%. You always put multi-channel targeting for the sake of multi-channel targeting. You keep that hygiene in place. So in that case, even you are spending 10% budget, Google will claim 40-50% of or other way around 40 to 50% of conversion, which is not true because they would not have searched in the first place if they would not have seen our ad through Facebook. So you have
Mm.
to understand what kind of customer you are in, and then accordingly you can educate your client. One small thing I would want to share. So this has happened with me 3 years, 4 years back when I got into digital marketing. Prior to that, I was a part of offline marketing, I would say. So one of my client was like, that Facebook was showing, let's say, $100, and uh, in Google Analytics, it was showing a slightly less for whatever reason. So
Okay.
you're like, I'm doing SEO also, so I'll not give you credit of the overall backend data. I would give you the credit of whatever, your Facebook dashboard is showing. So I was like, sometimes what happens is, like I told, so at times your visitor came through Facebook, but when they have visited your website, they'll just put the name, and sometimes they would remember even the website. And that website, if they are if they are accessing from a different device altogether, Facebook cannot uh, track them, and there is a chance of 10 to 20% of uh, more conversion that compared to what we are seeing in Facebook dashboard. So you're losing out on your contribution there. So once you already know about the system, you can always tell the client that, see, this is what happened, and this is what our model would be.
Yeah.
The problem arises when you have a multiple channels, please. Of course, when if they are doing already SEO, then Google Ads, and then social media, then it's get little messy, but still you can track on major level. I'll also give you one small. I'm sorry, I'm keep adding example because this is what happened. It would be very
Sure, sure.
useful for us guys. So what happened in one of my case? I, I I was doing this analytical audit for one of the one of the big client, and this client is a very I think one of the top beauty brand in India. Okay, so in this particular case, what was happening? Their Google AdWord was showing, I think, 60 to 70% of conversion. Okay, and Facebook was just showing 25% roughly, and uh, I mean, I would say, let's say Facebook was doing 20-25%, and 70% of conversion was coming from Google Ads as well as organic search. So majority of conversion was coming from Google AdWords and organic search. But if I compare Google AdWords and organic search, out of 100 conversion of that slab, 60% would come from Google Ads. So Google Ad was a dominating channel. That that's what looks like from a very vague perspective, that we will just see the channel report. It is showing me that out of 300 conversion, I've got let's say 50-60 conversion from Facebook, and let's say 100 conversion, 120 conversion from Google Ads, and 80 conversion from I mean whatever number we will bring up.
Yeah, yeah.
So So what happens is, then I saw the data. Now the interesting part is, let's say my brand name is ABC. Now I saw in Google Ads 90% of conversion coming from my branded keyword.
Mm.
90% of my conversion was coming from my branded keyword. Now, all those who run Google Ads, they understand if this is happening, there is no contribution of Google Ads whatsoever because it's an organic search. When you do an organic search, you would see the brand name. I mean, the first, the Google ad, and the second is your brand, the organic result. And of course, customer, there is a significant percentage that would click on either of the thing, either 40, 60, 60, 40. I mean, depend on various scenario, but there is a quite a good chance that customer is likely to click on both the ads. So if your 40% or 50% is coming from organic, and let's say 30 to 40% of conversion coming from Google Ads, and out of that 40%, 80 to 90% coming from branded keywords. I know that Google Ads is not contributing to me anymore. In fact, my social media is doing better because whatever 20-25% I'm getting, they are supposed to be a new conversion. Of course, we'll have to see, through YouTube tracking parameters that is there. So from that, on a superficial level, it looked like Google AdWords was the driving factor, but actually it was organic search or the branding because it's a huge brand, so a lot of people do search with the branded keyword. Now, in that context, the scope of increasing my conversion would be social media ads,
Yes.
not Google ads.
Hmm.
Now, this is the kind of approach you can get into once you understand the analytics. And this is talking about a brand which is generating around 2 CR or 2.5 CR in a month kind of store online through online that. So
Then,
that's what happens. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
So I think
exactly.
I'm
I'm
yeah,
I'm also lost in the conversation. Uh, so I was thinking that it happens with the big brands even. Yes, until so this actually happens that until we do not deep dive, we do not find out the exact situation or the exact channel which is contributing. Uh, Very true. And so I would
right,
like to
right,
know, like what happens like from the like whenever we have someone new entering into the digital marketing field, because this I'm sure this is the question with a lot of people. Whenever we enter into this digital marketing field, we get actually overwhelmed by all the different modules that we have or different streams that we have into digital marketing, being it SEM, SEO, or analytics. So I would like to understand from you that how one should actually make analytics as a career, because you know what happens when we look at the data, we sometimes we get so much interested by the data that we feel that this is our career, but later after 3 months or 6 months down the line, they feel that no, that was not the right choice. So what do you recommend that why who should actually come into analytics, and what are the different opportunities within analytics?
okay. Uh, so whenever we talk about analytics, it means going through the data and then make some decision out of it. Then only it makes sense, right? So there are three steps in analytics. So one, figuring out the right data. That is very important. Most of the time, we are not able to understand even the kind of data we are giving. I mean we are giving or we are getting for that matter from the tools. I mean, is that right in our context? So first is right data. I'll keep share you just a very quick example. If like a lot of us would have worked for I'm talking about experienced digital marketers. Like a lot of us would have worked on these e-commerce stores, and if by any chance you have seen the referral conversion, so there is a very classical issue in Google Analytics. If you have installed a payment gateway, okay, and a customer while making a payment leave your website, right? It will go to, let's say, PayU Money, Razorpay, or any paper gateway, payment gateway. They'll move to that website. Essentially, they have left the website. So you know, uh, the moment they left the website, this session ends, right?
Yes.
Now, let's say they came from Facebook and then they went to this Razorpay, made a payment, and then came back to website. Now, when they are coming back to website, they are coming from a website, a particular website, right? In that case, the becomes a referral traffic. I mean, the traffic becomes a referral traffic, and the first traffic source, which could be anything. Let's say, let's consider for our understanding, better understand. Let's say it's a PPC ad or paid campaign ads, right? You will not see that contribution of our conversion in Google Analytics. Now, that is one one mess up that we generally tend to ignore. Second biggest mess up, what they do. Now, just imagine I have sent 1,000 visitors on website through my campaign. 1,000 visitors. I mean, 1,000 visitors. I have got, let's say, 5% of conversion. Let's say 50 conversion I have got. Okay. Now in 50 conversion, let's say 30 people opted for COD. If they opted for COD, they have not left the website, right? They have not left the website. The attribution went right in that case. Now the other 20 came back from the payment gateway. So those 20 that came from payment gateway, they would have a significant high, uh, you know, uh, high conversion rate, because whosoever is going to payment gateway, right? If let's say 100 people are going to payment gateway, there's a very high chances that they would end up becoming a customer percentage wise, right? So let's say out of 100 people checked out on payment gateway, let's say 40% even completed the transaction. Those 40%, when they are coming back to us, that referral channel will have a very, very high conversion rate individually. So what you would say, what you would see that on Facebook it's 3%, for referral it will be 40%, 30%. So what happens in that case? Your overall channel conversion calculation also get distorted, because when you have, there is a term in statistics, outlier. When there is a particular data which is very, very far away from your analysis, we have to remove those analysis. Those particular data points, or we have to correct those data stream from which we were getting the data. So for that, we have to use this referral exclusion option in our Google Analytics. You can search referral exclusion in Google Analytics. You would get to know what the kind of navigation is. It's very simple 10-second process. So when we put referral exclusion, these payment gateway website. So whatever data would come from that particular website, it would become direct traffic. And
Okay.
when it become a direct traffic, we all would know that we always attribute, as per Google Analytics. Again, one has to understand how they attribute. We attribute the conversion to last non-direct click. Last non-direct click. So it means if I have got the traffic from let's say Google Ads, it went to payment gateway, came through direct, because I excluded that URL of payment gateway. When it became direct traffic, it would attribute the last non-direct, that would be Google Ads or Facebook Ads eventually. So that's how you would get your channel, channel contribution data right. So it's a very basic thing which you would get essentially in 60 to 70% of established brand metrics if they are looking to GA data. But as a fresher or beginner, we tend to avoid these things which are very, very critical. And this is just a tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of default settings which are not right in Google Analytics.
So, so
Yeah.
that actually,
So
yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So coming back to your question now, so when you ask that what are the attributes, what are the things that we need? So yes, right data. I gave you the example of right data. If the right data is not right, then how would you read the right data? Then make the decision. So right data, and then you should understand the data, how to read. Because now one would say it's very easy. If I can see the table, I can definitely make some sort of decision or around it. No, it's not an easy job, because if there are cohorts, there are other type of graphs involved. A lot of people may not know how to read those kind of graphs, so you should be able to read the data and then make a marketing decision out of it. So if you have read the data but you do not understand the marketing, you do not understand the market around it, then again it's a problem. So when you ask that how one can get into web analytics, you would be very, very secured if you can do all the three things, because the third thing is somewhat a marketing strategist or digital marketing strategist, or all those strategy leads to. They get the direct, they get the direct access to the insight and they make a decision. Now there is a separate role for data analyst part. So that guy will provide them the right insights based on the right data. Now the right data part can be jointly done by that same person, or they would have a separate person, a technical person, who would take care that all the hygiene is happening, right? If by any chance you're able to do three jobs, you're very, very secure and you'll go long way. But even the three separate jobs one can look into, particularly the reading the data and making a marketing decision around, that is something we can always do, because we cannot always get into the hard coding and how Google Analytics setup. I mean, I'm not talking about the basic setup. When you have to add custom function, custom dimension, all this part, how it works. So yeah, so these are the things that we need to do. Now, how one can do? There are two ways around it. Either you directly go for web analytics job, which is not an easy thing, because nobody would hire you until you have, I mean, this is
Basic
a very
understanding.
specific sort of domain. If you are not good in aptitude, nobody would hire you. I'm really sorry to say this, because what happens, you need to crunch the data and you have to learn the tool. You have to you have to understand the number, and if that basic hygiene is not there, then maybe you would take a while. But in my case, what I did, I parallelly learned the digital marketing, and then I started analytics also, because I already had a clientele for myself. So I was complementing the Google Analytics insights along with my performance marketing, and slowly I got a separate dedicated project for Google Analytics lately. So that's how it worked in my case. You can also start doing the similar thing, uh, or you can also start applying web analytics job, uh, provided you had some experience in digital marketing, so that they would understand you have a basic exposure. Uh, Parallelly, you can also learn these basic certification, Google Analytics certification, all this stuff, Google Tag Manager. And the best resource for learning these things is Optimize Smart. I mean, I have had the paid course as well for Optimize Smart, and this Conversion Excel, the CXL, we call it.
Okay.
It's a
Yes.
very, very awesome website. I mean, that's the holy, that's the holy reference for all analytic concept for me, most of it.
It is indeed. Um, and this actually brings me to the another question for you. Like, I have seen that reading analytics data, if say for example, if now you open any analytics account in front of me, I can read the data and I can analyze, like do a month comparison or a week comparison. But what exactly I have faced this personally, and I think most of the people would actually resemble on this, that they actually do not know, or in fact, I really do not know from where I should start. Like, should I make goals? Should I make UTM parameters? Or how the data would be all collated? Because as you said, like about the non-direct attribution model, most of the settings in all the channels, being it Facebook, being it Google Ads, it's last click attribution model. And it is suggested that you should only go for non-direct or first click, or the linear, only if you have some data, or what keywords will perform for you, or you want to give weightage to respective keywords. So um, as you just said that we have to go for a particular kind of an attribution model. So what exactly are the basic steps one should follow to at least make sure that the data that they're reading is all correct? like for example, what if the goal that has been set is all wrong? The data would obviously be completely wrong.
Yeah, yeah, true. So, see what happens is, so whenever you are starting with Google Analytics, step one is the setup part. So when I say setup part, you have to check the basic settings around Google Analytics account. Now, when you so if a lot of people would have gone through the Google Analytics account, right? So if you go to at a property level, there is a interesting section. Uh, so there are three hierarchies, right? User, I mean, at account level, property level, and then view level. So at property level, when you have access to any account, go to tracking information. When you so this is just below the property setting part, tracking information. In tracking information there are interesting these 6 7 parameters like tracking code, data collection, data retention, user id, session chatting, organic search sources, referral exclusion list, search term exclusion list. So just like that, there are a couple of other settings like enhanced e-commerce option on and off to
Hmm.
to get the enhanced e-commerce reports. So there is a checkpoint already available on Google search. I mean, if you search, there are a lot of credible checklists, Google checklists you would find. So it would be a setup checklist. So whosoever is listening to this, please search on Google Analytics checklist. So there are a couple of good, good website they are providing. So even a basic checklist would let you understand that, okay, these are the 15 20 steps I have to put in place. So that's the first
I
thing for
see.
a healthy start. Now in that checklist only they'll mention all the setting part and even the goal setting and all those part. When that is done, then come to my next stage. How will I look into the data? And then when we talk like how will I look into the data, first thing first, have some data around around a time frame. You cannot judge the data on the basis of 15 days, 20 days. The standard time, one minimum time that one would suggest is 3 months. Minimum 3 month data has to be there to go for a credible trend, and then you make a marketing decision out of it. So yeah, so once you have that kind of data, then you can, there are a lot of section or section reports are available. But if you are by any chance you have an e-commerce client or you have a e-commerce, let's say store, then you can go to this enhanced e-commerce section. There's a very rich way of getting a lot of uh, incredible insights around your product performance, around your product conversion rate, and even the cart to view it. I don't know if you guys have noticed this particular metric that Google also tell you that there is how many people have uh, accessed that particular page, and out of that what percentage of that that visitors have added to cart, and what percentage of those particular visitors have purchased. So it's that kind of interesting information already available in Google Analytics. And then they also tell you what how many people have uh, dropped. So of course the basic stages are there: add to cart, view content, and all this. I mean, add to cart and then checkout
Yeah.
and then purchase. So they'll always tell you that this is the percentage. It is I mean the kind of visitor dropping off. But what happens is when you enable enhanced e-commerce option, they'll also tell you the detailed stage of checkout itself. So there are primarily, I mean, the major two steps are you will go for checkout and then fill your customer details. I mean, as in your details, and then move to payment part. So there are two steps essentially. So while moving to payment part, there is still a significant drop at that particular stage. So
Hmm.
Google Analytics tracks that as well. And interestingly, uh, if you're a beginner, you might not know this, that you can create Google Analytics audience that can be used in Google Ads. So you can actually create those kind of audience, and you can create very specific using UTM parameter, all those jazz and put in place and make a customized customized segment of audience, and you can retarget them through display marketing. When you understand this
Yes.
is a particular product or this is the context of a campaign, you can do wonders. So yeah, I mean those basic channel report and then e-commerce channel report and then audience report, what kind of age group, city, device, the basic thing. I mean, even if you don't want to get into in depth, that's really help in optimization of campaigns across
Campaigns.
Google and Facebook.
So, I mean, yeah, that is very much there that when it comes to um, looking at the data. So once we have this checklist, oh, 1 minute.
I think
So
Mike is
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's yeah. So I'm actually lost within the conversation every time.
No
Uh,
problem, no problem.
so I was thinking in this respect that whenever we are actually looking at the data and whenever we are doing any kind of a planning, so we have to also make very minute goals which people misses out. Like say for example, I'll just give one of the examples. Like I was previously working for one of the e-commerce clients, and as you rightly mentioned that they do add to cart, and then how many people abandon the cart, we can also track that. So all this is getting tracked, but the problem was that as you took the example in the previous question that when it comes to the payment gateway, it was again routing to a complete different URL which they were not tracking. So what we did, we placed a code over there when it was like purchase now on the different URL, and then it was like as soon as somebody would have done submit or purchase now, it would have recorded a conversion. So and sometimes very minute details people do not know, and especially if I talk about designing the funnel part, so they miss out on the minute parts. Like so say for example, like people who have come to your website, and even if they have clicked on about us section, it cannot be a very important thing for you, but what if you can track those people and then you can remarket them. But because what I feel, if somebody is going to your about us section and reading about you, probably they want to know the credibility and authenticity of you before buying from you. And if they are doing so, probably later down the line, once you will start remarketing them, they will be interested in your product once you will prove that trust and credibility. So that actually brings me to the another question for you. You have mentioned in our initial conversations that Google Analytics data is not 100% correct, which was like a very big thing for me because I considered analytics as Bible. So I'm sure people who are listening to this and who would be listening in future would not really like to hear this, that how Google Analytics data is all correct, or we should have two different tools to check the data. So how would you like to assist them in that?
So yeah. So so what happens is when you are tracking, I mean when the data is huge, right? So even a percentage like 5 or 10%, which may not be relevant in particular cases where the order volume is not very high. But if you are talking about lakhs of orders or thousands of orders per day, even that 4 or 5% of variation in data in particular metrics will be a huge money or business loss if you are not able to track, and could have lost opportunity based on the decision we could have got if you have access to the right data. Now, when I say Google data, Google Analytics data is wrong, but what I meant was is not 100% right. So what happens is there are, of course, Google Analytics is a free tool. Google Analytics attribution model is very good. Even you will not get that kind of attribution model setting up in advanced tool as well. So there are some good things about Google Analytics, but there are a couple of things which you not may not get the right metrics. So, for example, this cross-device reporting, they're still
Yes.
in beta phase, right? So there are a couple of things which are not really up to the mark in Google Analytics. They are working on it, and I'm sure they would come around. So So what happens is, for a big organization, we always try to have two. I mean, it's a standard process. Just like we should have multiple views, which again, I think 95%, 98% of marketers, they don't create multiple views, right? We would never ever go to second view. We would go to the default view and we'll look into the data. So just like that, we ideally, it's a standard practice to have two analytics tools, just to make sure that we should, if if some error or something is messed up, we would at least get to know if you have a two web analytics tool in this. So the basic data can be cross-checked and verified. So that's the idea. We cannot or should not rely on one tool. Okay, so we should set up at least two tools and then look into the data. But this particular aspect is very critical for big organization. They have lakhs of, I mean, not even lakhs, millions of visitors coming up in a month. It will not be relevant for a store who has a couple of thousand visitors on a daily basis, because in that case, doing that much hassle is not really
Right.
worth investing. So it's always like we say in digital marketing, or even for any marketing that matter, we should always be specific about the context which we are referring to. So, if you have tons of data, yes, you need to web analytical tools. But if you have a decent data, maybe like couple of lakh visitors in a month, then you may not want to have two analytical tools. If,
Yeah.
yeah, free. There are a couple of free tools available. I think there's new Microsoft also has launched new tools, right? I think
Yes.
Clarity.
Clarity. Yes.
So, so we can also start using that. It's a new tool. So they are providing heat maps and all, which Google Analytics is not doing. And
Mm.
currently they're saying it's a free. There is no restriction. Looks like there is no restriction even on the kind of volume data we get. And I'm not sure if a lot of people know that there is a limit for our standard analytics, Google Analytics tool. If your visitor is more than 1 million, I think 1 million or 10 million hits this certain aspect. If it is more than that, then Google Analytics will give you sample data. Will not process the
Oh.
whole data in the free version. So there is a paid version of Google Analytics 360, or just like Google Analytics, we have a Google Tag Manager 360, a paid version where you could get again more features as we would require in our business.
I see. So, so that actually brings me to the another part of it, like when it comes to monitoring the data. I think only where, as you rightly said, the brands who are dealing in crores a month. So they, I'm sure, would have dedicated analytics team who would be working day in day out and making sure all the dots are properly connected and they are checking everything really in a proper sense. So that actually brings me to another part that, like, I have a lot of friends in the digital marketing industry, and some are fresher, some are experienced, and some are like pros. So if I talk about the people who are especially the freshers, I have seen that if they are joining any new organization, or if they get a new project, what happens that the client tells them, first of all, it's very hard to get the analytics read only access from client. They do not provide that. If somehow they do, they want the marketer to come up with the solution or come up with the marketing strategy right away or within a day's time. So how would you like to address the situation, and what all things they should actually discuss with the client, or looking into the analytics tool and suggest the client? Because so obviously if we keep on sharing the strategy with all the clients, so how would we get our credit, isn't it? So keeping that in mind, what all should we cover and what all should we only cover if the deal gets matured?
Okay, so I'll share my experience, like what we do. I'm sure they are a lot of experienced people around there. They can share other aspects as well. So see, So it depends on what kind of pitching we are doing. So let's say in one case, client has come to us, client has come to us, and he or she is looking for an alternative agency, right? Because somewhere they are not satisfied with the current agency. That is one aspect. Second aspect is we are pitching to a client. The client is okay. I mean, they might consider you if you can convince them that you can do a way better job than the existing agency. And third is referral. So you have got such a strong referral, and of course, see, requirement has to be there. So that is go without saying. But I'm just sharing the level of seriousness around it. So I've realized a couple of things, and I'll come one by one on those three things. So one is, if client has approached you, it means that client is desperate. Client already have some credibility in your solution. Some, depending on what kind of, how did that particular person reach out to you. If if they already know you, they understand that you have been into this industry for a while. You're not a fresher, particularly in that aspect, I'm saying. And they've reached out to you that this is the kind of advertising that's happening, and we are not really satisfied. We want you to improve. So we would ask, yes, that please get us the data of ad data. I mean the ad account data and the Google Analytics data. Most of the time, in Facebook case, if we ask for Facebook access, we also get analytics access as well by default, Facebook pixel data. So that's a relief in Facebook. We need not to specifically ask for separate accesses. If you're asking pixel access, by default we'll get the Facebook Analytics data, which actually for basic understanding is definitely good in terms of website vista, what is happening, product URL, what kind of product is moving, and which channel is even working, UTM parameters. All those things are set up there as well. Now what happens is, we most of the time ask for ad account access, and if the client volume is huge, then definitely we would want to have access to GA. So let's say if the client is doing just 1,000 orders in a month, then GA data may not be that significant in the first iteration. Of course, it will be significant, but in the first segment or first leg of conversation, it may not be that significant. We would want to first address the existing setup, ad setup, that how it is being performed, what kind of funnel is set up, and all stuff. Now, when you are pitching to a big client, when I say big client, as per your understanding, starting from, I don't know, everyone has their skill. So when I say, I'll not say big, I use the word big client, but maybe a decent ticket size client starting from 50,000 or but for performance marketing, it's a decent size. It can go up to whatever limit you want, lakhs of budget per month. But let's say it's a decent sized client, then you have to pitch them the analytics aspect. Because what happens is, it's a very interesting thing that we tend to miss out. If somebody is looking for a alternative solution, by default you have to perform better, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people say that we will do better. Of course, you have to do better. If you will not do, or you will not say, both ways, because a lot of people say and then don't do it eventually. That is also a problem. So if you are not pitching yourself that you will do better, are they going to hire? No. So it goes without saying. So we don't say we would do better. Okay, we just say that based on, of course, the kind of audit that the kind of even the campaign setup that the previous agency has been doing. We say that this is the kind of percentage slab we would put an improvement on. Generally, it varies from 15-20% to 50%, depending on the kind of quality work the previous agency has done. And second thing, we tell them that these are the other things which have not been even addressed. Okay. So through analytics, we will get to know, maybe, let's say, this is a very interesting example in analytics. Let's say I have 300, 400 products, right? And interestingly, not everyone, not every brand can, let's say if it's a FMCG brand, then in FMCG maybe 100, 150 products is huge, right? For every product, they have to spend crores of money, right? In development, research, and all those packaging, marketing. They will not be able to market every product, at a individual level. They'll market the segment altogether. They market the vertical altogether. So what happens? Let's say my one segment has 20 products, and based on analytical data, the top three products are bringing 60% of revenue, even if they are not bringing profit. Overall profit is there, yes, but maybe one particular product is not bringing me profit, but still I'm pushing because it's selling, but it's not profitable for me. That is one case. And let's say out of my 20 products, there is two three products which are selling by themselves. So if somebody is coming to my website, we are not even promoting it, they are selling by themselves. The order volume may not be that high. So let's say I'm selling 1,000 orders, my top three products are bringing 500 orders, and the remaining out of remaining 70, two three products they are bringing let's say 100 orders in total in a month. But those 100 orders are coming literally at a free, with even promoting significantly, or without even promoting those products individually. They're just landing up, going browsing, and based on the product description they are clicking and buying it. Now, like I said, that buy to I think the ratio is buy to cart ratio, if I remember the term correctly. So it's actually a conversion rate only. That so one is your cart ratio, that what percentage of customer has added in
Hmm.
your cart, and then uh, what percentage of customer has bought. So that is, of course, that becomes a conversion rate itself. But the interesting part about this particular metric is Google Analytics itself is considering the product view page metric, which is we call in Facebook terms, we call it a view content event. Where if a customer visited the product, it will be called as a view content. So if I already know that out of 100 visitors, my average conversion rate is, let's say, 5%. But for those 100 visitors which are visiting these two, three products, it is 8% or 9%. So by default, I'll ask them to promote these two, three products additionally, because if it's running, if it's already running without putting more focus on it,
Focus
it
on.
would be, it would be doing way better if you put a little more focus. So that's the small thing that can do wonders, and that's the kind of insight that generally, when I say no marketing agency does it, I mean hardly 2-3% marketing guys would do it. Yes, they all are good. We all are good in our ad copy, creatives, and the kind of ads we do. But when it comes to marketing stuff, a lot of us, lacks, because we always tend to isolate ourselves from the business. We just think, okay, Facebook is doing good. I don't care if Google Ads is doing bad, good or bad, or SEO is doing good or bad. But eventually, since it would affect the website sales, they complement us. If the brand is not good, we would lose. Even from generally in long term, in paid marketing sense as well. So all the channel complement, and it's always good to have a clear communication, which is not a part of web analytics. But let me tell you, it really helps. If a clear communication is established between you and a client, even if you are not doing that great, I have tested this phenomena that if even if you are not doing great, they'll end up staying with you, provided they understand, yes, you are putting the
Hmm.
best effort, and that best effort is the possible, best possible effort in that particular situation. They would give you 1-2 months more to see if you could manage that. And out of 10 times, if you're doing the right solution in place, uh, you would end up getting out of trouble or performance marketing trouble in 7 to 8 times or 8 to 9 times, and you end up having a huge retention factor in your agency.
I see. And that actually plays a very important role to retain clients, not just for your own goodwill, but also to attract new clients. So it's
Right,
like completely a cycle, and it's like a looping cycle which we cannot ever stop. So that actually brings me to the another question for you that has been asked by someone in the team. So they want to know that there is one brand who is just about to start a new event, and they want to make sure that everything, all tracking is in place. It's basically like they're about to launch a new set of products, and they want to start its marketing. So they want to make sure that all the tracking is in place, so that everything is counted perfectly well, and they know what is working, what is not working. So they just want to know, um, how should they plan for this? If you can just touch on the points, the basic points.
Okay, so if I got this question right, they just want to make sure that tracking is in place, right? Nothing wrong in terms of tracking is happening, right? So okay, so when you say tracking, or when I say tracking, so a couple of things would come into my mind. First is Google Analytics, that has to be there, and then your Google Ad conversion tracking, and third is Facebook Pixel setup. Majorly, these three kind of setups we keep in place most of the time. And of course, the other tracker you can Hotjar, other kind of stuff. Of course, you can put other tools as well. When it comes to Google Analytics, like I said, the basic default checklist you download from
Hmm.
internet, you'll get a good checklist. Follow them, set the goals, and then see if because you can always browse the website and perform those events by yourself, and you can see whether it is accurately being tracked by Google Analytics. So you can do that, by yourself. So that is one. Second, for Facebook Pixel again, you can use Facebook Pixel Helper to see the event being tracked correctly. And if you have the access, you can always have the backend access, and you can test the event there as well. There is another Chrome extension like Google Tag Manager, or not Tag Manager,
Tag
this
assistant.
Tag System, Google Tag Assistant, yes, which will tell you that these are the kind of Google tracker are already set up there, and they would, I mean, if they are tracking right, they'll based on their color coding, you will get to know it's tracking, it's not tracking, and we would have access to their backends, Google Analytics, Google Ad Conversion. Google Ad Conversion essentially will also tell you that when you start that marketing, that the recording conversions, they will immediately start firing out. So uh, for Google Analytics, you can do it manually. For Facebook Pixel, also you do it manually. For Google Ads, you would start that, and eventually, for first couple of days, have a very strict, vigilant in process that whether those conversions are, are taking place
Recording, yeah.
by, yeah, and recorded correctly. Third thing is which I missed out. So a lot of times now there is, I think there's a significant percentage of people now they use Google Tag Manager to install these trackers. Earlier, we used to put a code in header footer
Yes.
of the website pages, but now a lot of times people have started using even Facebook Pixel installed from Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics and Google Ad Conversion Tracking, which is a right process to do, with a standard process to do. Start using Google Tag Manager, learn a bit about it, at least learn to set up the basic Google Analytics, Google Ads, and Facebook Pixel tracker on website to Google Tag Manager. That would go a long way, because Google Tag Manager make your life very easy.
I see. I mean, that actually is um, like for me, Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics is something which is like completely alien, because I understand data. I can very much do the marketing strategy on the basis of data. But yeah, I am very much afraid myself in setting up the goals and making sure that though I have done it a lot of in my previous organization for different clients, where we used to set up the goals for them and make sure that it's recording the conversions also. We used to track the right URL. Everything is in place. But yeah, I still am a bit afraid in doing so, because I don't want that, the data should go wrong, or I'm tracking the wrong URL altogether. So, but yeah, as you said, that till the time you do not learn about it or practice it, you would not understand the thing. So that is the basic thing that we require. I would like to ask you, sir, that nowadays we are hearing that the next revolution, which is the virtual reality or the artificial intelligence. um, but do you think that without even knowing the nitty-gritties of any tool, like if I now talking if we are talking about analytics, so without even understanding the basics of the analytics, or once you become a pro, you should not actually move to AR, or I mean the VR or AI. How would you like to tackle this thing?
So, see, if my understanding is correct, this AR or VR is still in, I mean, if we talk about India, it's very, very in nascent state, right? We have just heard about it. We are not using it, in US and even in West, they have started implementing it, but it's still a far, far, away what we have witnessed in Hollywood movies, right? The
Yeah.
extreme part of those things when you say it's sci-fi movies. So, but having said that, yes, they are, they are getting developed as we speak. All those projection and those kind of stuff, they are in process, and I think couple of players are using it, but still the usage is not on that mass scale yet. Okay, so just like so for instance, this website earlier, not every business used to have a website, right? Or not everyone used to have a smartphone, or further little further from there, or a phone, mobile phone, right? Or a phone, even the very
Farthest.
yes. So that's how it is. So the yes, it would come eventually, maybe in next 5 to 10 years. This VR AR will have a tremendous impact on our life, the way we shop. But still a little, I mean, early to implement these tags on a mass scale. And in Indian context, it always take 3 4 years. Generally we take, if West has implemented now for certain thing, we take 3 to 4 years of gap. Then we also start getting used to those kind of texts. So now to answer your question regarding from analytics part. So whenever we are creating any technology, of course we would have to be able to track the interaction, right? So whosoever is creating these ecosystem, they also know that we need to track, those kind of interaction, and then only we will be able to optimize. So I'm sure the parallel ecosystem would also have been being developed as we speak. Okay, so I think that part will never be a problem. If we are creating a technology, we will have to track it. If we are not doing it, it's half work done. It's still a lot of things to be done. So when it comes to analytics, I don't see that it will be a problem. If that is set up, the AR and VR setup, then yes, they should have some tracking parameters in place from which we should be able to understand whether this is working or this is not working, and accordingly we will make a decision. Now, when it comes to AI, which is already, if a lot of people would have noticed that GA also has started giving some suggestions, AI based suggestions
Yes.
or insights without even being asked to. And Google AdWords have started doing this recommendation, very aggressively. Earlier, it was not there, but now they'll give you a percentage. And sometimes you will implement those recommendations, and there's a lot of chance that your performance is not going to improve at all. But somewhere they have put a restriction that you're not 100%. You know that you will do 100%, still your cost will not improve. They would suggest that you have to improve your budget, and they'll put a 20% marker on increasing the budget, which I
Yes.
know that's not going to improve my performance. So anyway the platform constraint which come in one form or the other on every platform. But yes, AI is already playing a huge role when it comes to marketing. That is almost reached to a stage where a lot of lot of marketing organization are using it, a decent sized marketing organization. Okay. And so all these platforms, they are AI driven only, right? All these advertising platforms, they are AI driven only. So AI is something that has been very, very, it has been very, very advanced now. At least that they can do a lot of marketing crunching and to understand what customer can do. That's the reason, right? Facebook, Google, they can listen to your data. They have access to your text. They have access to the keyword that we use in chats, right? They are even listening to us as we speak.
Yes.
So we never know this micro clarity exam, ad we can get after a couple of days if they are promoting their product. So they have access to tremendous, data, and they can crunch the data based on their inbuilt AI, and then proceed the data to further their business interests. So that's always going to be there, but tracking will not stop, and we may have different sort of tracking tools on analytical tools in place. But we'll always have to look data, and we may even automate or semi-automate the decision-making process in future, for sure.
True, sir. I mean, when talking about this, Google is listening or Facebook is listening. So I can see that since last 2 3 weeks, while I was just planning for this event and I was in conversation with you, every time I used to open my Google Discovery section, and one or two articles were related to analytics because they know that I've been discussing about this. And nowadays, most of my feed, my Discover feed, is either on digital marketing or is either on analytics or on psychology because that is my another area of interest. So
Right.
that is very much there, and yeah, we have seen. In fact, just recently, Google Analytics has launched G4 version of Google Analytics. So this is
Yes.
something very new, and I was like going through it. So some things, I mean, out of that, most of the things bounced because I did not understand. But yeah, I related it very well. And yeah, for Google Ads, yes, every other day there are new recommendations, and there is so much Google Ads. I mean, Google is doing for Google AdWords tool. So yeah, that is very much there. So sir, as we are heading towards the closure, I did not even realize we have crossed this much time. I would like to understand. Just maybe you can share the minute. Um, Details or the minute errors that we make, like say for example, I know that in analytics, if you are making any goal or a view, and say for example one is in the lower case and one is in the upper case, so they will be counted as two different views altogether. So these are some of the minute details if you could please share with us, and people who are more into analytics side and who want to make a career or who wants to help their client or their own brand, what tips would you like to share with them as a closure note?
Okay, so I'll tell you. I mean, so what kind of error you can do? So particularly, I'll share one Facebook custom conversion example, which I think most of us, even if they are Google Ad, uh, Google Ad specialist or Facebook Ad specialist, I mean, we tend to use both the platforms one way or the other. At least we understand how the platform works. So, so whenever we make a custom curve in the Facebook Analytics or even goal in Google Analytics, sometimes we tend to ignore this forward slash. Forward
Yes.
slash. I think we all would have committed. I mean, I have committed that mistake in the beginning when I used to create this. I had created, I mean, this particular custom cursor by selecting a particular section of URL that this URL should filter it out. And but I think by any chance I missed out on that forward slash, and that forward because of that forward slash, even in Google Tag Manager we were creating this conversion because we were pasting the whole URL. We missed out on forward slash of the particular section for conversion, like thank you page, right? So I mean that slash has actually created an issue. Why? Because we had put an exact match. Okay, so for instance, thank dash you, right? Let's say it's a
Yeah.
registration page. Now, a forward slash, I think it would be, yes, it would be forward slash. So, what we did that we have put an exact match, and we have included the forward slash, so it was throwing some error. So we had to actually change it to contain. I mean, insert text content or URL text content. These are the small mistake that can happen. So you have to check the, see case sensitivity, the URL sensitivity. Okay, these are very basic thing that we have to check. The case sensitivity, I'll tell you. So what happened in my case, and how did I learn that JavaScript is a case sensitive language? Okay. So
Yes.
I mean, when I was learning this Google Tag Manager, I was looking into one video and I was parallelly practicing on my test website. Okay. Now, I think in that particular video, I had copied every step. Okay, I had copied every step, and uh, I was not getting the result. There was some error for that matter. I was like, whoa. I mean, I'm doing everything correct. What is the thing that I'm missing? And then I realized in code, I actually was supposed to put, supposed to put a, I was supposed to use a caps, and I did not use a caps in that case, and it actually costed me my half an hour. I was very much struggling that where I'm, doing any mistake. I followed every process, still I'm not able to catch up the error. So yes, case sensitivity and the URL structure are the very basic mistake that we tend to do. Even the frequency of events. So sometimes, for instance, we would want to track the event one time, and sometimes we want to track the event multiple times. So for instance, purchase, uh, if, if someone has refreshed that thank you page again and again, that should not be counted as a multiple orders, right? So registration page, yes, one time. But if someone is doing a purchase, it is also should be one time in that session, or the whole URL structure would change based on their user ID and all. These are the very basic thing that we have to keep in mind while making an tracking aspect. Apart from that, when we talk about Google Analytics, yes, goals, we have to understand the goal aspect very clearly, what kind of goal we want to put. In e-commerce, it's pretty simple, like registration, add to cart, checkout, and purchase. But in other, if you want to track the other events, like you want to track if somebody is clicking on your particular links, like you said about us. So I wanted to add there that we can maybe track the people who have clicked on returns and refunds.
Hmm.
We can also track who have clicked on social media handlers, our
Icons.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Because if those people have shown some interest level and they are not purchased it, they at least would remember our brand name, right? So we
Yes.
can retarget, and they are a sort of engaging customer with our brand. So those kind of click event, even scroll events, that if someone has scrolled by 50%, 75%, these are the basic events. These are the events you can set up through GTM very easily, which earlier was not very easy because you had to understand the coding aspect. But in GTM, if you understand the basic hygiene around it, you can create these advanced events, and you can create these events, connect it to Google Analytics, see into Google Analytics, and then import it to Google AdWord audience.
AdWords. Yeah.
It's a very
Agreed.
interesting journey, right?
Yes.
So whatever you want to track, if you want to even track those people who have clicked on your Facebook and Instagram handle, and they have not liked your page, you can run a campaign, right? That sort of, just or a similar thing around, or do a branding part. So there are unlimited possibilities around what you could do through GTM, and then use analytics in sync in with Google AdWords. So whatever you want to promote, you can do that. So yeah, when it comes to basic, I would just say that go through checklist, go through these URL parameter and case sensitivity aspects, see where it is required, where it is not, because in URL, the URLs are not case sensitive in general, right? But JavaScript, with this regex, we would have case sensitive issue when we are talking about a particular filters in terms of keywords. So
So,
yeah, so these are the basic hygiene around.
So, sir, that actually brings to the closure. And just one last question from you because there is so much and we have to wrap this up. Just one last question. I have noticed that whenever we make any goal in Google Analytics, uh, we have an option at the bottom which says check the goal, whether it's working or not. And it says you have received this conversion or you will receive this conversion in these many days. But overall, is there a way that whenever we make any kind of a goal or a view and we want to make sure that it will perform the way that we want, is there any way that we can do so?
Okay, so you are saying how to verify the goals.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so see what I generally do, the user process only that, whenever I create a goal, I'll verify, whether that goal is happening. Second thing is we can also, see from the report, that whenever we create a goal, we can immediately, look into the reports as well, that whether these goals are performing or not. So based on that, we can do, because there would be no immediate way of verifying it, because until unless those goals have not been have not been
Actioned.
executed, right? Then you will not see the reading or the metric around it, and by default, just by creating it, it will be little difficult. So you'll have to verify it. There is no other way around. I mean, by default, just by creating it, you will not be able to, verify, because see, Google Analytics will not tell you that you are doing wrong. As in wrong,
Hmm.
when I say wrong, whatever you want to track, it is up to you, right? They can only guide you out that, okay, you can search, I mean, you can select a section of URL, or you can go for exact match, not exact match, and then based on your kind of category you want to create, they'll help you out that, okay, you want to create what kind of goal setup. So you would know that they have now provided a template, right? That
Yes.
pre-filled template, that what kind of goal you want to place: revenue, acquisition,
Yes.
inquiry, engagement, and then custom also. And then they have provided goal description. Along with that, they have also provided the steps, that okay, when do you want to make sure that this goal should happen. So for example, okay, it's a very interesting example, that if I have directly gone into the cart of a page of website, directly I have the URL, I have directly clicked on that. That is one. And another case is when I have directly come to a website, then product, then add to cart. If I've directly come to cart, I may not want to call it as a cart drop off, because I have
Hmm.
already known the website, I've already gone through it. I may want to segregate it from the 95% or 98% the other user cart abandoners, right? So I would create a sequence that if they have visited home page, and then product page, and then add to cart, then only my cart drop off goal should fire.
Right. So, sir,
Okay,
I think.
so yeah.
Yeah, please
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
So that's how they have. Yeah, they have already given you a lot of checkpoints in place. But as per my understanding, in auto mode, I think I do not know the other way around. I would
Okay.
just say.
So I think, sir, I've heard this that maybe you should create two different kind of views. One would be for testing, and the another one would be for real time. I think this is something which we all marketers need to know, that whenever we are testing something new, so we should have a test view, and once we see the result in that, like we will ask our colleagues or peers to use that conversion action and see whether it's recording the result. And when it is perfectly doing what we intend, then we can replicate the same into the client's account, or the client's view. So I think this will make much more sense, isn't it?
Yes. So in that case, when you say client view, actually, whatever we will be creating, okay. So there are two aspects then. If there's something specific about a website, in that case, we have to test that in a client view only, and that would be a
Okay.
testing view separately created. As far as the general functionality is concerned, yes, we can, we can test it in our test view and then implement it, in client. So yeah, even in that case, we are in some way, confirming
Hmm.
the functionality, and then we are coming to a conclusion. One
Yes.
more point to add around views. So yes, we have to create multiple views, and you would be surprised to get the insight when you create views by different channel wise. So you would have a separate channel, view for organic traffic. You will have a separate view for PPC. You will have a separate view for mobile device. You would be a separate view from social media traffic, and then you would see even a separate view from blog as well. you
Oh, I
know
see.
you could, yeah, so you'd be surprised to see tons of traffic, tons of insight, because what happens in general, yes, we can create the segments as well, but there are a couple of report like attribution. You cannot utilize the segmentation aspect, and they, I think in funnel visualization, there are the 2 3 report where we cannot segment, and plus it also help us without even applying a segmentation. We'll always know that okay, this is what happens in social media traffic. So multiple views are always good. Create one master view, one raw view, and the other one test view, and the other channel wise view. 7 to 8 views are recommended, and there is no loss of creating multiple.
I see. So,
Have
so
a,
there's so much to cover, and it seems like we can talk ages on this topic, and it's really very interesting when I'm actually learning so much today. But yeah, we have to wrap this up. Maybe I can request you to come once again on this show and share more detailed insights. We can do so. So
yeah, yeah. So,
thank you so much. So I would like to thank you for taking the time out today and giving your viewpoints and clearing a lot of doubts related to analytics. So thank you so much once again. We have to wrap this up, and I
yeah.
hope that people who have listened to this today, they would have definitely got enriched by your knowledge, and they would be able to apply these basic nitty-gritties into their own marketing spectrum. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you so much, sir, once again.
So, yeah, thank you, Vina, for inviting me for this session. It was pleasure to share whatever little experience I had, and I'm sure if people have got some value out of it, I think that would be great. And I'm more than happy to come, for a second session in case you plan it. But in that case, I would want to have some sort of practical session, so that it will be a
Okay.
value added, session, some sort of exhibition as well, which a lot of people may not see on a regular basis.
Sure, sir. So maybe next time we can plan more on the practical aspect with real-time examples, and then we can showcase the same to audience. So in this case, they would be able to relate much more. So I think
Yeah,
because practical makes a difference rather than just going with the theory.
yeah, yeah. So would be more than happy to do it. Yeah.
Sure, sir. We will plan on
Thank
these
you.
lines. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.